The clock struck midnight in the quiet town of Bellavita, and the rain poured down like heaven itself was weeping. Inside a small servant's quarters at the edge of the old De Luca estate, Maria Alvarez sat by the flickering light of a dying candle. The flames swayed each time the wind sneaked through the cracks of the window pane, throwing long, restless shadows across the room. Maria's hands were rough, calloused from years of scrubbing marble floors and polishing silver for a family that no longer lived there. The mansion had stood empty for months since the day Don Rafael de Luca, the man she once served, vanished after a violent fallout with his associates. The rumors in town called him a criminal, a mafia lord, a traitor. But to Maria, he was the man who once gave her a home when she had none, and who treated her with more respect than any man of wealth ever did. She sighed, clutching the rosary beads around her neck. "Señor Rafael," she murmured, "wherever you are, may God protect your soul." Just as she blew out the candle, a sound broke the silence. Tap, tap, tap. She froze. The soft knock came again, slow, deliberate, like someone too weak or too frightened to make noise. Maria's breath caught. Nobody ever came to the old quarters anymore. She stood, wrapping her shawl tight around her shoulders, and inched toward the door. The storm howled outside, and lightning briefly illuminated the cracks of the old wooden frame. Another knock. This time, a trembling voice followed. Please, open the door." Maria's heart skipped. The voice was small, fragile. She unlatched the door. The hinges creaked open, and there, framed in the doorway, stood a little girl, soaked to the bone, barefoot and shivering. Her golden hair clung to her cheeks, and her white dress was streaked with mud and blood. In her arms, she clutched a ragged teddy bear, missing one eye. "Madre de Dios," Maria whispered. "Child, what happened to you?" The girl's lips quivered. "They beat my father," she sobbed. "He's dying. Please help him." Maria knelt, her old knees aching as she steadied the trembling child. "Who are you, mi amor? What's your name?" "Isabella. Isabella de Luca." The name struck her like thunder. De Luca. Don Rafael's daughter. For a moment, Maria couldn't speak. The last she'd seen of Isabella, she had been a cheerful child chasing butterflies through the rose garden of the estate. Now, the little girl looked like she had crawled through a nightmare. Maria gathered her in her arms. "Come inside, quickly," she urged, glancing out into the darkness. The storm was not the only thing to fear tonight. Inside, the flickering firelight danced over Isabella's pale face. Maria dried her hair with a towel, wrapping her in a blanket. The girl's hands trembled violently as she clung to her teddy bear. "Tell me everything, child," Maria said softly. "Who hurt your father?" "The men," Isabella stammered. "The ones with the black coats. They came to our house. They shouted at Papa, said he betrayed them. I hid in the closet like he told me, but I heard gunshots." Her voice cracked. Tears streamed down her face, cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. "I waited, then I ran. But I saw him, Maria. He was on the floor. He told me to run to you. He said, 'Find Maria. She'll keep you safe.'" Maria's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hold back. That man, despite all his sins, despite the blood he had spilled, had always loved his daughter more than his own life. She cupped Isabella's face. "You did the right thing, Nina. You're safe now." But deep down, Maria knew safety was an illusion. If the men in black coats were still searching for Rafael, they would come for his bloodline next. And if Isabella had truly seen them attack her father, she was already a witness they couldn't afford to leave alive. The thunder outside roared louder. Maria walked to the window and peered into the darkness. For a brief second, she thought she saw headlights glinting through the trees, a car slowing near the gates of the estate. Her heart hammered. "Dios mío! Maria! Isabella's small voice trembled. Are they coming? Maria forced a smile she didn't feel. No, sweetheart. Just the storm. But her mind raced. She needed to hide the girl now. She moved to the old cellar, pulling aside a loose wooden panel. Behind it was a narrow space once used to store wine barrels. She placed Isabella inside gently. Stay quiet, she whispered. No matter what happens, don't make a sound. The girl clung to her sleeve. Will Papa be okay? Maria hesitated. Then she lied, softly, yes, my love. I'll find him. I promise. She closed the panel and turned toward the door, just as another knock echoed, this time harder, impatient. Maria's blood ran cold. Tap. 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 Lightning flashed, and through the peephole she saw a shadow, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat. Maria Alvarez, a voice barked. Open the door. She froze. Only one kind of man spoke like that, the kind Rafael de Luca had once commanded, and later betrayed. As thunder rattled the windows and the little girl's muffled sobs filled the silence, Maria whispered a prayer, reached for the iron poker from the fireplace, and took a deep breath. The night of truth had come. The iron poker felt heavy in Maria's trembling hand. The man outside pounded on the door again, harder this time. Maria Alvarez. Open this door, or we'll open it for you. Lightning split the sky, and thunder cracked so loud the walls shook. Maria's breath came fast and shallow. She stepped closer to the door, voice trembling. Who are you? She called out. What do you want? A pause. Then, a voice smooth, cold, almost polite. We only want to talk. You worked for Don Rafael de Luca, didn't you? We have questions. Questions. Maria had heard that word before. It was the word men like them used before they dragged someone away never to be seen again. She tightened her grip on the poker. He's gone. I don't know where he is. Another man's voice joined in, sharper, crueler. Funny thing, Senora. We found tracks from the De Luca mansion leading straight here. Small feet. A child's. Maria's heart dropped. They knew. Inside the cellar, hidden behind wooden panels, Isabella pressed both hands over her mouth to stop herself from crying. The voices outside were muffled but terrifying. She could still hear Maria's faint voice, shaking but firm. Leave this place. Maria shouted. You have no right. The door crashed open before she could finish. The old hinges tore loose, and two men stepped inside, dripping rainwater onto the floor. Both wore long black coats, and under them, pistols glinted at their belts. Their faces were hard, eyes cold as stone. One was tall and pale, with slicked back hair and a cruel smirk. The other thicker, meaner, chewed on a toothpick, scanning the room. The pale one smiled. Senora Alvarez, he said softly. My name is Mr. Costa. I used to work for your old boss. Maria didn't move. Don Rafael is dead, she lied quickly. You won't find him here. Costa's smile widened. You sure about that? He stepped closer, his boots squelching in the puddle of rainwater forming on the floor. His eyes flicked around the room, the fireplace, the broken chair, the flickering candlelight. Funny, he said, glancing down. You've got two sets of wet footprints. Yours, and someone smaller. Maria froze. Her mind raced. She had to distract him, anything to keep them away from the cellar. She forced a tired laugh. I've been feeding stray cats. You city men wouldn't understand. Costa's smirk vanished. I hate cats. He grabbed her arm and yanked her close. His voice dropped to a hiss. We know the girl's here. Where is she? Maria didn't flinch, didn't answer. Her heart thundered in her chest, but she met his eyes. You'll find no child in this house. Only a woman with nothing left to lose. Costa studied her for a moment. Then, without warning, he slammed her against the table. The poker clattered to the floor. The other man laughed. "Careful, boss," the thick one said. "She's old. Break her, and she won't talk." Costa leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. "We don't need her to talk. We just need her to scream loud enough for the girl to come running." From the cellar came the faint sound of a sob barely audible. But to Maria, it was deafening. Costa's head turned. What was that? Before he could move, Maria swung her elbow back hard, catching him in the jaw. He stumbled, cursing, and she grabbed the poker from the floor. Without thinking, she struck the iron connecting with his shoulder. He roared in pain. The other man lunged forward, gun drawn. "Drop it, Vieja," he shouted. Maria froze. Her arms trembled, but her eyes didn't. "You'll have to kill me first." Costa wiped blood from his lip and gave a low, amused chuckle. "That can be arranged." He raised his gun, but then, from outside, came the screech of tires. A black car had pulled up near the gate. The headlights flashed through the window. The men stiffened. Costa turned to his partner. "We're not alone." Maria's confusion was genuine. "Who is that?" she whispered. "Shut up," the thick man barked, peeking out the window. "It's another car. Maybe the police." Costa frowned. "The police don't drive Lincolns." He grabbed his coat. "Let's move. We'll come back for the girl." They backed out the door, guns ready, disappearing into the storm. Maria stood frozen for a long moment, her body shaking from the adrenaline. Then she locked the door again, bolting it with a chair. She rushed to the cellar, tearing open the panel. "Isabella. Are you all right?" The girl threw her arms around her, sobbing uncontrollably. "They were here. They were here. I know, mi amor. It's over now. Shhh." Maria stroked her hair. "You did so well." But even as she comforted the child, she couldn't shake the fear that was crawling up her spine. The men weren't gone. They would return, and next time, they wouldn't ask questions. She looked out the window again. The black car that had interrupted the attack was still there, its headlights still on. "Who are you?" she whispered to the night. And then she saw it, a figure stepping out of the car, wearing a dark coat and hat, moving with a limp. Lightning flashed again, and Maria gasped. The man's face was bruised, bloodied, but unmistakable. Don Rafael de Luca. Alive. He looked toward the house. And Maria knew whatever peace she'd prayed for tonight was gone forever. For a long, breathless moment, Maria couldn't move. The rain outside had softened to a steady whisper, but inside her chest, thunder still raged. Don Rafael de Luca, the man she had mourned for months, stood by the gate, leaning against his car like a ghost dragged back from the grave. His black coat was torn, his face battered, his left hand clutched his side where blood seeped through his shirt. Maria pressed her trembling hand against the window. "No, it can't be," she whispered. But the limp, the sharp jawline, the defiant eyes, even through the storm, she knew him. Behind her, Isabella peeked from behind the cellar door. "Maria? What is it?" Maria turned. Her lips quivered between a smile and a sob. "It's your father, Nina. He's alive." Before she could say more, she heard footsteps crunching in the gravel outside. The two men were back. Costa and his partner had seen the same thing. Voices shouted over the storm. "It's him. He's alive, De Luca's alive." Gunshots shattered the night. Maria screamed, pulling Isabella back. Glass from the window exploded as bullets tore through the frame. The candle fell, flames licking across the floorboards. "Stay here!" Maria shouted, dragging Isabella toward the back door. Don't come out until I say. But my father. Do as I say. Maria ran into the rain, barefoot, heart pounding. The world outside smelled of gunpowder and gasoline. The black car by the gate had its headlights still on, illuminating Raphael's silhouette as he fired a pistol toward the trees. Costa's men returned fire. The flashes lit up their faces like devils in the dark. Raphael! Maria screamed. He turned, his eyes wide with disbelief. Maria! Then a bullet grazed his arm, spinning him backward. He ducked behind the car, clutching his bleeding side again. Maria ran to him and fell to her knees beside him. The years fell away in an instant. She was no longer a maid, she was the woman who had once sworn to protect his daughter, even from his enemies, even from himself. Don't move, she said, tearing a strip of her dress to press against his wound. He managed a weak smile. Still giving orders, Maria. Tears welled in her eyes. You fool. You should have stayed dead. He coughed a laugh, wincing. Can't die yet. Not while they still want my daughter. The mention of Isabella made her heart seize. They came for her. Two of them, Costa and another. They know she's alive. Raphael's eyes darkened. Costa, he spat. I should have known. I spared him once. Bullets ricocheted off the car. Raphael reached into the vehicle, pulled out a small revolver, and handed it to Maria. Take this. I don't. Take it, Maria. You'll need it. She took it, her hands trembling. Another shot cracked the air, hitting the car's side mirror. Raphael leaned out and returned fire, 2 sharp blasts. One man screamed. Then silence. The rain poured harder now, hissing over the steaming metal of the car. Raphael sagged against the door, breathing heavily. They won't stop, he muttered. The cartel thinks I stole from them. But it wasn't me. It was Costa. Maria blinked. Costa betrayed you. Raphael nodded. He took everything, money, power, and told them I ran with it. They came for me. Burned my house, shot me, left me for dead. But I crawled out, Maria. I had to live. For her. He looked toward the house, his voice breaking. Isabella, is she safe? Maria nodded. She's inside. Scared, but alive. Thank God. He tried to stand but stumbled. We can't stay. If Costa's still breathing, he'll bring more men. Then where can we go? She asked. Raphael looked toward the horizon, where the mansion's silhouette loomed faintly against the rain. My old house, he said. They won't expect me to return to the place they burned. Maria stared at him. You want to go back there? It's the only way, he said. There's something in the cellar, proof of what Costa did. If I can get it, I can end this. They made their way through the muddy road, the rain masking their footsteps. Raphael's arm was around Maria's shoulder. Every few steps, he coughed, leaving red splatters in the mud. Behind them, the distant echo of sirens or engines followed, unclear whether salvation or death. When they reached the De Luca mansion, Maria gasped. The once grand estate stood like a blackened skeleton, its marble columns cracked, windows shattered. The air still carried the faint scent of ash. Every step across the charred floors whispered ghosts of the life that once filled these halls. Isabella was here when it happened? Maria asked softly. Raphael nodded. His jaw tightened. She saw more than any child should. They descended into the ruins of the wine cellar. The faint glow of Maria's lantern revealed scorched stone walls and broken glass scattered like frost. Raphael limped toward a cracked floor tile and pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment beneath. Inside lay a small metal box, sealed tight. This, he whispered, is the evidence. Bank records, photos, everything proving Costa's betrayal. If I get this to the right people, he's finished. Maria looked at him, her face pale. And what then? You think they'll just forgive you? He looked up at her, eyes heavy with regret. No. But at least Isabella will have a future. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind them, slow clapping. They turned. Costa stood at the bottom of the stairs, rain dripping from his coat, a pistol gleaming in his hand. His lip was swollen from Maria's earlier strike, but his smirk had returned. Touching, he said. A father, a loyal maid, and a box of lies. But I'm afraid your story ends here, Don Rafael. Maria's breath hitched. Rafael shielded her, raising his gun, but Costa fired first. The sound thundered through the cellar. Rafael staggered, eyes wide, as blood blossomed on his chest. No! Maria screamed. He fell to his knees, the box still clutched in his hand. The echo of the gunshot hung heavy in the cellar, blending with the rhythm of the falling rain. Don Rafael de Luca collapsed to his knees, his pistol clattering from his hand. Blood soaked through his shirt, spreading like a dark flower across his chest. Rafael! Maria screamed, catching him before he hit the ground. His breath came in sharp, shallow bursts. His eyes flickered toward her, glassy but full of fire. Maria, the box, don't let him take it. Behind them, Costa stepped down from the stairs, his gun still smoking. The cruel smirk on his face made Maria's stomach twist. You always were too stubborn to die quietly, he sneered, wiping the blood from his split lip. You should have stayed buried, Don. Rafael coughed, forcing a bitter smile. And let a snake like you run my empire? Never. Costa's smirk vanished. He aimed the gun again. Your empire is gone. Now I'm just cleaning up what's left. Maria rose slowly, trembling but fierce, her eyes burning through tears. You call this cleaning? Killing the man who trusted you. He looked her over with disdain. Trust? You think he ever trusted anyone? You're just a servant clinging to fairy tales. Her jaw clenched. No, she said quietly. I'm a servant who remembers who she serves. Before he could react, she grabbed the lantern beside her and hurled it at him. The glass shattered against the wall, flames erupting instantly as oil splattered across the stone. Costa cursed and stumbled back, shielding his face. Maria seized Raphael's revolver from the floor. Her hands shook, but her aim didn't. Stay where you are, she hissed. He laughed, stepping through the smoke. You won't shoot me, old woman. The firelight reflected in her eyes. Try me. He raised his gun. For a moment, time slowed, the world suspended between two heartbeats. Then a sound broke the tension. Papa. It was Isabella. She had followed them, unable to bear being left behind. She stood at the top of the stairs, her small frame illuminated by the fire's glow, her eyes wide in horror at the sight of her father bleeding on the floor. Isabella, no! Maria cried. Get back! The distraction was enough. Costa turned his gun toward the girl. Raphael, with what strength he had left, pushed himself up and lunged forward. No! The shot rang out. Costa staggered, his eyes wide in disbelief. A red bloom spread across his chest. He looked down, stunned, and then saw Maria, her hands gripping the revolver, smoke curling from its barrel. You, he gasped, but the word died in his throat as he fell. The cellar fell silent except for the crackling fire and the storm raging outside. Maria dropped the gun, her whole body trembling. The flames were spreading fast now, licking the shelves, devouring the old wooden beams. The air filled with smoke. She turned to Raphael. He was still alive, barely, but fading fast. Isabella ran to him, sobbing uncontrollably. Papa! Please, stay awake. Please. He smiled weakly, brushing her cheek with a blood-stained hand. My little star, you're safe. That's all that matters. No. Don't leave me. He looked past her, toward Maria, his eyes filled with the weight of 1,000 unspoken things. Maria, take her away. Don't let her see what comes next. Maria nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'll protect her. I swear it. He managed a faint smile. You already have. Then his hand slipped from hers, and his head tilted back. The firelight caught his face one last time, calm, almost peaceful, before it was swallowed by shadow. Maria gathered the girl in her arms. Come, mi amor. We have to go. But Papa. He's with God now, she whispered. He wouldn't want you to die here. She led Isabella up the stairs, through the flames that now consumed the mansion. The air was thick with smoke and heat, the old tapestries curled and turned to ash. As they reached the front door, the ceiling gave a mighty crack, collapsing behind them. They burst into the rain, the storm washing the soot from their faces. Maria looked back only once. The great DeLuca mansion, once a symbol of power and fear, was now nothing but fire and ruin. And in its glow, she saw the silhouettes of two men who had built and destroyed each other, finally at rest. Hours later, dawn crept over the hills. Maria and Isabella sat by a quiet riverbank far from the city. The rain had stopped, replaced by a pale gray stillness. The girl leaned against her shoulder, exhausted. Her small hand clutched a locket, the same one Raphael had carried since the day she was born. Inside was a faded photo of the three of them, Raphael, Isabella, and Maria, smiling in the garden long ago. Back when the world still felt safe. Isabella's voice broke the silence. What will happen to us now? Maria looked toward the horizon, her expression firm but gentle. We start again, Nina. New names. New life. Somewhere far away. Will they come for us? Maria shook her head. No. That story ended last night. The girl turned the locket over in her hands. I don't want to forget him. You won't, Maria said softly. You'll remember him not as the man they feared, but the father who loved you more than his own life. A single tear rolled down Isabella's cheek. You saved us, Maria. Maria smiled faintly. No, child. Your father saved you. I just kept his promise. As the first rays of sunlight touched the water, Maria stood and took Isabella's hand. Together, they walked down the dirt road, leaving behind the ashes of the past. Behind them, smoke still rose in the distance, curling into the sky like a final prayer. Maria didn't look back again. She didn't need to. She had kept her word. And somewhere in the quiet dawn, she swore she could almost hear his voice. Thank you, Maria, for saving my little girl.